views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Hey, Phoenix, Arizona, this is Brother Mike, and I'm back on the radio, hardcorechristianity.com. God bless you today. Thank you for tuning in to the radio program, Christians Who Murder, today on Hardcore. Hey, will you call somebody and tell them the radio program's on? Give them a call right now while I make a couple of quick announcements. I'll stall for you here. Hey, this is Brother Mike. I am the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center in Central Phoenix. We're on 15th Avenue, just south of Osborne Road in the heart of Maricopa County, Arizona. HardcoreChristianity.com is the website. Of course, we have 2 live services per week. Both of these services are at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and we broadcast them live on our YouTube teaching channel. And we have preaching, teaching, healing, and deliverance at both services. Also on the website, you can join us on our Facebook page, Hardcore Christianity, and Blessings. Blessings is where we post all of our supernatural healing testimonies. You can also sign up for a free seminar. You can also send us another donation on our PayPal page. We thank you for that. 16 years you've been supporting us. Deeply appreciate it. Thank you for your referrals to Sister Karen. She loves working with born-again Christians. She'll sell your house for you and does it with remarkable sincerity, honesty, and integrity. Homepage of the website. Christians Who Murder. Wow, folks, if you haven't noticed, Satan is taking over the United States of America, and he has taken over the churches. The vast majority of them are under his mind control. The vast majority of them are ineffective and loaded with demons. And I need to read you this story today, illustrating exactly what I'm talking about. I've been talking about this stuff for 16 years on the radio, and it never stops. Here's the article that some of you may have read. It says, quote, a troubled Christian Tennessee father was hospitalized after a suicide threat last Friday. He fatally shot his wife and his in-laws and then himself during a domestic dispute last Monday, shortly after he reached out to his pastor, who was unable to have an extended talk with him about his troubles because he was on holiday with his family for Memorial Day. The pastor said, quote, I beat myself up pretty bad for a brief moment, wondering if I couldn't have stopped it, said Pastor Corey Trimble, who leads the non-denominational church called the Experience Community Church in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where Sean Gainey, 29, and his wife Cassidy, 25, attended church, according to WKRN News Channel 2. Quote, the last thing I sent to Sean was I said, hey, you know it's Memorial Day. I'm with my family. Why don't we get together tomorrow or the next day and just talk? Unquote. At about 2 p.m., Trimble said he got 2 odd text messages from Sean apologizing. Quote, I found it odd that he sent me 2 texts out of the blue, and they said, one said, quote, I'm sorry, and the other said, Pastor, please forgive me. That is odd and quite eerie looking back on it, he said. You think so? Really? The Christian Post reached out to Trimble's church for further comment Wednesday, but no one was available. At about 3:30 p.m., according to the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, the trigger for Sean's apology to Trimble was made clear. Dispatchers received a call of shots fired at 1132 Rivercrest Drive, where the couple lived with their 5-year-old daughter. When the officers arrived on the scene and entered the home, they found Sean and his wife dead, along with Cassidy's father and Kenny Adair. His name was Kenny Adair, age 55, and her stepmother, Shelley Adair, age 48. They were all in the bedroom, and they found a handgun by one of the bodies. Sheriff Mike Fitzhugh said deputies had been called to the home on Friday after Sean Gainey threatened suicide. He was taken in for medical treatment, and his firearms were removed from the home. Quote, he was transported to the hospital, and we're trying to find out now what took place after that, Fitzhugh told the Daily News Journal. He explained that unless doctors determined that Sean needed to be committed, the case would have been considered closed from a law enforcement standpoint. An unidentified friend who said he was the one who introduced Sean and Cassidy told Fox 17 that he also spoke with Sean on Monday, and he mentioned killing his wife, but he didn't take him seriously because Sean was known to exaggerate. Sean was also known for keeping guns hidden all over the house, including hiding a gun under his young daughter's bed. His wife Cassie also owned a gun. She publicly celebrated Sean's gift of a SIG Sauer P38 pistol on Facebook last March, saying, quote, Sean sure knows how to surprise me. He's kind of the best. Trimble, whose church the couple had been attending since 2015, said even though he tried counseling the couple through marital problems on Monday morning, he never thought it would have turned deadly. He said he'd spoken to the young husband and wife separately and suggested they spend some time apart, and encouraged Cassidy to seek safety with her 5-year-old daughter. Now, right there, as a counselor, I'm seeing a series of red flags here. I'm seeing a pastor who, as usual, doesn't understand anything about the spirit world, has no concept of demons or spiritual warfare, doesn't know anything about the spirit of rejection, the spirit of rebellion, or the spirit of murder. And this pastor is as ignorant as the parishioners when it comes to Satan and his devices. He's not catching the cues here and has no capacity to discern spirits, which is a special gift of the Holy Spirit. You can see here how tragic this kind of thing goes when you go to churches who have no concept of spiritual warfare, they don't know anything about demons, and they end up hurting people more than they help them. The article goes on to say, quote, she had threatened to separate, and yeah, I would say that was probably the trigger, the pastor told WKRN. Trimble blames what Sean did in part on not being, quote, adequately connected to God. Really? That was your analysis of it. Okay. Says here, the pastor remembered his wife as being a woman of faith. Quote, one can only do the atrocious things that Sean did if they're not adequately connected to God. That is pure evil. As a person of faith, the sting of Cassidy's death is non-existent. That girl is in heaven. She received her reward. Wow. This is not a church I would be interested in attending, and this is not a pastor I would want to sit under who is at this level of gasping spiritual ignorance. The article goes on to say, quote, the true tragedy is for her 5-year-old daughter, and that a man let himself get so separated from God that he would do something so violent and so awful. On Tuesday, Trimble further wrote in a Facebook statement that, quote, there is real evil in the world. In the 9 years I have pastored, I have seen almost everything one can see, but I still break in times like these. No, Pastor, you haven't seen almost everything, and your analysis that there's real evil in the world, ooh, that's deep. That is deep. He said to the friends and families of Cassidy Gainey, I and our church mourn with you. Now, we can't be too hard on the pastor, to be honest with you. Everybody makes mistakes. Not everybody sees everything. But you can be very hard on the Christian church here in America as you see Satan and demons taking over the entire country. In the 1950s, America had no real concept of demons and really didn't need one. The devil wasn't running almost every phase of our society back in the 1950s. And in the 1960s is when things started to turn bad. The late 1960s when Satan started to take control of the entire country. Now, He has 98% of the churches completely watered down and preaching a gutless, useless, seeker-friendly form of the glorious gospel of Christ. They do not understand spiritual warfare. They do not understand deliverance. They do not understand mind control spirits. This poor guy was heavily infected with demons. The pastor didn't know it. His wife didn't know it. No one knew about it. And if they did know about it, there wasn't anything they could do about it because they don't understand spiritual warfare and they have no inner healing or deliverance program at their Mickey Mouse church. As we progress toward the tribulation and the rapture, America is going to continue to massively deteriorate. As you can see, spiritually, the country is going to hell in a handbasket. Homosexuality is running rampant in America. False religions are popping up all over the country, including the rise of Islam. You can see now sports gambling is going to sweep through the country, along with the opioid crisis and drug addictions, along with human trafficking, MS-13, crime and sin running literally everywhere. Satan is going to slaughter us, friends, and it's going to go bad, and it's going to go real bad. Here's some good news, though. And I have some good news for our ministry, hardcorechristianity.com and the Arizona Deliverance Center. We will be moving on to the National Deliverance Center, hopefully within a few years. But deliverance ministries, believe it or not, are going to be heavily sought out as our country continues to deteriorate into sin. Deliverance ministries are going to be the hot items, by the way, and if you happen to have any interest in getting into the inner healing and deliverance field, physical healing, spiritual healing, deliverance from demons, emotional healing, if you happen to have that calling in your heart, we could sure use you at the Arizona Deliverance Center, 602-636-5800. Deliverance is going to be a booming ministry in a very short period of time in this country as the demon-possessed and the demon-infected begin to slaughter our citizens, just as our students are slaughtering one another in school shootings that will soon become a weekly event here in America. 602-636-5800. It's time for you. It's time for you to learn spiritual warfare. It's time for you to get healed and delivered. And it's time for you to fulfill your God-given destiny. See you next time.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.